The emotions can seem to feed the thoughts and vice versa. It's like a play of energy. Um, but the thoughts want to be seen, and they're gone just like that as soon as they arise. And so do the emotions. They want to be felt. And that's why they arise. Now they're not an entity that really wants anything, but it's just energy moving, wanting to express the way it does. Um, we can't really know why, and knowing why doesn't help. I mean, we could try to understand it, but it just doesn't work that way. Knowledge is practical. It's supposed to help us pay taxes and write a grocery list, but we can't know what anything is or why this seems to be happening or how or anything like that existential, you know. Um, it seemed the energy of emotions that we don't prefer, that we associate with trauma, they seem to calm down when an allowance happens. And that allowance happened for me in this story when I saw very clearly that I wasn't thinking the thoughts, and the emotions and all of it are very impersonal when you see that, oh, I'm not thinking the thoughts, like I'm not doing this. It's doing itself. Like a tree grows, it bears fruit, it goes through all the seasons. It's going through an apparent evolution or maturing, and it has nothing to do with anything. I would say the triggers and the traumas, they can still be there, but the way they express has changed. So there's no mental anticipating, like them happening. So it's not like a buildup of anxiety. It's just whenever
Mhm.
anything comes up, it's full on bam. It's felt full on. There can be racing thoughts with it too. And it seems to move through quickly, like an open system, when
Mhm.
before there was resistance, and it seemed to kind of get stuck and get stuck in a loop, right? Um, so it is lighter. It's much lighter. You can sort of watch it happen, so to say, and just it becomes fascinating because there's nothing you can do to stop it. One, it says nothing about you. That's obvious. That becomes very obvious. And if it has nothing to do with you, then you can actually love it because you're not taking responsibility for it. But when you take responsibility for it in a way, and it's good to take responsibility in life, it's not a black or white
Mhm.
issue. On a practical level, it's good to take responsibility. But something about really seeing that we are not the thinker of thoughts and the doer of actions. It's like when you see an innocent baby, who's throwing a
Mhm.
fit and they're not getting what they want. We can have compassion for that. But because we psychologically own our actions and thoughts, we blame ourselves and have guilt and shame for for what arises here as this person. Now I find myself, um, when a decision comes up, this is what happens most of the time. Like, oh, should I do this or should I do that? And it happens all the time, like every day. It just happens. It's normal. But what'll usually happen is, I'll be like, oh, okay, and I'll just see it, but it kind of fizzles out, and that's it. And something else distracts me, whatever happens next. And I'll watch it, like that's interesting. It might pop up again, and I know that when the choice is made, it will be made. So it's not like I follow that thought. It's not interesting. I obviously don't know what to do or how to do or when. But the decision is made, it's obvious, and the body jumps up and goes. Like you can literally just watch it happen. If you ever have time and feel like it, and resonate with it, you can just sort of watch yourself do nothing for a while. Like say, I'm just going to sit on the couch. I'm not going to get up. I'm not going to do anything. And you just watch yourself and you make a decision. I'm not going to get up. Well, eventually, if you sit there long enough and you're very vigilant, you'll watch the body, you can watch the body just jump up at some random time. It does itself, you know. And if you're very vigilant, you can see it. You can see it happen. And you begin to learn like it's not what I think the thoughts sort of come after and claim, but the body knows what to do. It knows how to drive. You don't have to think about how to drive, right? Or walk or most of the things we do, you know. So thoughts are kind of like emotions in the way that they're just expressing, but thoughts ultimately they don't refer to anything because we don't know what anything is. So right now it seems like you and I are having a conversation over Zoom, but we don't know what that is. We could break it down and call it light or something like that, but what is light? You know. So it's not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We need language. We need subject, object to refer to this and that to be able to navigate this dream or whatever you want to call it. Um, but this sort of insight of no self that we talk about, um, it's not like I hear a concept, everything is one, and I believe it somehow. That's not what happens. It's not like learning in the conventional sense, like how we go to school or learn how to play an instrument. It's not like that at all. Um, it's an invisible energetic resonance. One day you just see it or you just recognize it. Nothing to do with understanding. It's just an energetic, like, oh, it's everything. And if it's everything, then it's that which I do not prefer as well. You know. Well, usually when we're seeking, we're waiting for this state to happen. We don't know what it is or what it's going to be, but we imagine, there'll be this peace or this transcendence or this equanimity that's sustained. Um, we have lots of ideas about what this is, and it's none of those. I promise you. Yeah, glimpses. I've had many of them, and yeah, they're hard to describe. There can be lots of different kinds of insights and glimpses. Um, but this for me now it's just it goes back to this ordinary neutralness, and anything can arise out of that. Anything, you know, complete terror, doom, anything like anything you can think of. It has the potential to arise out of that calm, neutral ordinariness. I've been a people pleaser for most of my life, and my number one fear was conflict, you know. So I would just become the person that whoever was in front of me wanted me to be. I was very good about masking and like a chameleon. You just adapt to the situation. It's okay. It's normal. We all do that. So um, you're not going to act the same way to a cop that just pulled you over like you would to a 2-year-old that wants to talk to you, right? You're gonna act differently. So it's doing itself beautifully. It's perfect. I feel like when we can hold space for ourselves more and more and just and it's hard to do because it's the easiest thing to do. And we're used to needing something to do, right? So you just observe and notice what seems to be happening. That's it. And There's something magical about that. We see things that we've never seen before about the nature of this. Things that will, be scary because it takes away our beliefs one by one. We start to see that our thoughts are meaningless. And that's scary because that's the only tool we have to control this life. But there's no such thing as control of this life. It's just life doing what it wants. I spent about 30 years hating myself more than anything. Like it was a theme. I'd wake up in the morning and start crying because I was awake. You know, it was hell. And it was that hell that brought me to this path. And somehow this recognition can dawn that it has nothing to do with me. It just doesn't. And somehow compassion and innocence can arise out of that. And there's already innocence. There's only innocence, you know. But one thing that happened that shifted and it seemed to accelerate the energy and move the energy more and get me out of a stuck place. I was meaning in being. Have you ever heard of that? One thing that happened for me is I realized, I don't know how, but I realized I wasn't going to find the answer in a thought or in information like a book or a video. It wasn't going to be in the form of a concept that is believed. So I was like, well, what else is there? Because we're so conditioned to believe that our thoughts are everything. They have power. I realized that there's also sense perceptions, sight, sound, sensations that can be investigated, you know. So I would look at an object. For example, there's hundreds of ways to investigate what's direct and what's actual.
Mm,
So I would ask a question like, what is this? And I would stare at an object, for example, and just wonder. It was like a curious place
mm,
where I had a question, but I didn't fill that void with an answer. And answers would come, but I would say that's just a thought. I would see a thought as a thought and say it can't be that because it's a thought. And I would continue to look curiously, openly, without expectation, you know. And then thoughts would come up. Where am I on a map? Am I close? Is this it? And I would push it away and say, that's just a thought. It's fine, but it's just a thought, and continue to look. And somehow, and you can do this with sound or sensation. So you can place your attention not on your thoughts, but on how the body feels in general. You can do a part of the body or the whole body. And you learn a lot by doing that. You learn that attention always wants to go back to the mind over and over. Like it'll keep going back to the mind. And there can be frustration. And there can also be insights that I can't control it. I literally can't control it. I can't keep focus on the body. It will always go back to the mind whenever it wants to because I'm not doing it. Something about that you start to see in a way that you've never seen before. When you stop looking in thoughts, thoughts are fine, they can appear, but it's just a thought, right? Um, Something about that really it made a gap between the thoughts and that which I am. There was a gap, and I could see that I'm not thinking them, and it can be a little scary, but it took me 6 months of seeking in this way, investigating sense perceptions, and uh, I saw very clearly that there's no one here doing this. There's only life, and nothing is personal. It's just life playing stories because it can. It loves all this shit. And that's okay, obviously, right? Because that's what seems to be happening. As soon as it arises, no matter what it is, it's completely valid. It's only a thought that says it shouldn't be this way. And that doesn't mean anything. Where's the meaning? You know, we give life meaning, we give thoughts meaning. So there can be a still, very still noticing, sort of like a witness state. You're just observing. So that witness state and the actions, thoughts, and apparent happenings and doings of everyday life, they eventually sort of integrate into each other in a way. And it becomes like flow. Everything is a surprise. Thoughts can arise and say all kinds of stuff, but it's just a thought, you know. Who knows if that'll happen? We'll see when it happens. It's like not knowing until it's there, you know. Um, Kind of like a baby or a wild animal. It's so there's without thoughts that divide, it's so seamless that there's no knowing. It all happens together at the same time. Infinite detail, moods, subtle emotions, thoughts that are abstract and don't even make any sense. All of this arises, sight, sounds, all of it arises as one, this experience that's unknowable. It's calm because I see that it can be no other way. And very clearly, I see it can be no other way because right now there's no past, there's no future, there just isn't. Where is it? You can't hear a pointer and just believe it. You have to see it for yourself. So you can't have it as a mantra, nobody's here, nobody's here, nobody's here. You can't do that. You have to look and notice with earnestness and openness without putting an answer in that place that's open, without contriving what you think it is. And vulnerability is very powerful, you know. Um, it's a surrender that happens on a level that you see that you could never have done it. You just can't do it. There's no sustained state that's involved with this recognition. So we could say that no one wakes up, but there is only awakeness. Awakeness is always already. you know. So we just kind of recognize that and then seekers say that person is awake. But it's just a label for, I guess, this recognition, which is, you could say, a dream event, something that happens in the dream. Awakening is a dream event. Awakening happens in the dream because this is awakeness already. But this was always this God, whatever word you want to call it, this that can't be named, that is sentient, eternal, omnipresent, you know, it can never not be what it is. It's doing exactly what it wants to do. It feels like flow. So when you're playing music and you're in flow, or that's the word I use. It feels like that most of the time. It feels um effortless. Yeah. And even when things come up that I don't prefer, which happens, right? That feels effortless, you know. Yeah. We could say, everything is love. Everything is unconditional love. But recognition of that can seem to happen in the dream, in this, mysterious appearance. But it's never not love. If you have money in the bank, it feels a certain way. It's your money. You get to decide what to do with it. But if somebody else has money, well, so what? Doesn't mean anything, right? It's not yours. This is what this is like. You know, my child means more to me than that child over there because it's mine. So the personalness of this is what shifts. It becomes not mine. And in that way, it can be admired for exactly what it is because I can't control it. I just happen to be along for the ride, you know. There's nothing to forgive. Yeah. And you feel it because there's compassion. Yeah, like you said. There's only you see innocence and emptiness. Like when you look in a baby's eyes, there's nothing there. They're not thinking about you. They're just looking. We are all that. Well, if it was somebody else, you would have compassion for that person. But because you believe it's yours, there's an anxiety that something must be done about this. But if you just notice and watch, it will resolve itself. What needs to be done occurs in the instant that it happens. You know, it could seem like thinking about it for a long time and anxiety and then going back and forth. It could seem like that, you know, but all of that is spontaneous, whether we recognize it is or not. See? It is perfect. It is perfect. It is what is longed for. This. The journey is the destination. We want to know what it's like to seek and find and be lost and, you know, what else would an infinite beingness do but play and go on journeys and learn and know what it's like to lack and be finite because none of that exists. So, yes, all of it. Hmm. We want to know what it's like to have epic dramas, you know, reaching for something positive and fit and something that you want that's positive. You are automatically rejecting that which this is. Because what is it? You know, what is it? What is this made out of? This is a miracle without identification. Identification is just a fog. It's just an energetic fog that isn't even real. It's made out of imagination, just like little children believing in Santa Claus. Just look, it's allowed. It's already allowed. Yeah. Like what the fuck is going on here? It's a miracle. What is this? Like, is this not trippy? There's no rules. There's no right and wrong. It's whatever happens, right? I took LSD, wanting to wake up. I thought it would help me wake up. I had lots of beautiful mystical experiences, you know, come back to the ordinary. But I do feel like there was an integration of the insights that I had there and this ordinary, limited human life. Yeah, and I don't think that they're needed. I don't think psychedelics are needed. There's no lines. Just look. Humans are capable of atrocities, beautiful kindnesses, and all of it is allowed. There are no rules. This is chaos, you know. Life doesn't have rules. Only men have rules. And they're made out of thought, you know. Time is made out of thought. Minutes. Have you ever seen a minute? You know, borders, country borders are made out of thought. There's no borders. You have time to notice. hmm